these more nationally
Well,
known writers?
this being America, if you step out of line and do anything a little, just even a teensy bit out of the ordinary, you attract attention. So I think the paper became pretty well known within journalistic circles right away. And I wrote to Alex actually to invite him in. And the idea of that was to get not only a brilliant writer, but a person who knew what he was talking about. And then I wouldn't have to print 2,000 word screeds from local guys on, say, the Middle East, which the local pundits couldn't find on a map, the whole Middle East. So you hear, then I could say, well, I got Coburn, Coburn covers this for us, so,
And so it's very
read it
interesting.
to your wife.
This balance, you're straddling these extremes. On the one hand, you've got this very local, very small town paper, and then you've got these global issues, these internationally known writers.
Yeah.
How do you see the relationship between those two, like kind of coexisting?
Because writers like Coburn, although he was well known, a lot of ordinary people buying my paper had never read anything about him, didn't know who he was from Adam. And if you watch who actually buys my paper, you don't have intellectuals buying it, or who would you say? I don't know. It would be more ordinary people buying it. People who wouldn't look like book readers or readers necessarily.
But do you see like the local as a way to as a peek into the global, or because I've read that what the newspaper is known for is writing in great detail and unexpected depth about local issues in a way that might interest somebody who's not local, right?
Yeah. Well, we can write in depth, say 2,000 or 3,000 words even on a school board meeting, and a guy in New York will write in and say, yeah, that's exactly what happens in our school board meetings. Or somebody in San Francisco, the San Francisco school board meeting is exactly like
just
this.
as stupid.
And the school people are exactly like the people you're describing here. So there's a universality about a lot of this stuff.
If it's written well.
Yeah.
If it's written well,
Yeah,
exactly.
If it's lively enough to hold
Right.
somebody's interest,
And so you call yourself America's last newspaper. What do you think is the role of a local written paper in this day and age with the internet and all that 24-hour news cycle, the ability to get your news on your phone instantly? What is the survivability and the role of an old-fashioned small-town newspaper? Is it still relevant?
There probably isn't one, and we expect that we're doomed because now that the people who grew up with newspapers are dying off. People who still prefer to read a newspaper format and don't care if the news is a week late, read our paper. And of course, we have a lot of local people reading it just for the purely local stuff. But when they go, we go. I mean, we're going now slowly. We do better online than we do in the print format.
Right. And so would you see yourself as existing only online, or is it important to you?
Well, to me, it wouldn't be any fun. It wouldn't even be very interesting to go online.
Why?
Because you just get lost in the deluge. I mean, you have every nut in the world now has his own blog, and I don't think the writing generally has improved much. I mean, there's only a few outside writers that I go out of my way to track down and read because they're lively, but.
And what is it about the print medium that encourages better writing, do you think? Is it more committal, or is it more?
Well, I think you absorb more through a tangible thing that you're holding and looking at and absorbing and reading than you do, online with little cartoon figures waving at you and your machine beeping,
right.
And you're getting emails coming in and you're distracted by all of these electronic distractions, this constant din. So I think the newspaper is still a peaceful, preferable way to read. Just like a book, to me, I'd rather hold a book than say a Kindle or a printout of a book or something.
There's an extra dynamic to the AVA, though, that attracts people who want to be in print and want to say what they want to say without having somebody tell them they can't say it or have it heavily edited or chopped up.
Well, that's always been true. That's been true for a long time. I mean, you can't really, letters to the editor in every publication that I know of are either ignored or censored. You can't say what you want to say in the way that you want to say it very many places.
So the opposite extreme is that you can say what you want in online comments, though. Do you think that? But those
Nobody
turn
reads
into
them,
this
they're
kind
lost in
of.
the day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you read online comments, and those comment lines can get completely out of hand. Just insults and stupid remarks, and
Because there's no accountability.
there's no accountability.
No, frequently they're anonymous.
They're not interesting.
And they're anonymous.
But if somebody has to take the time to sit down and actually write something, I think the chances are it's going to be more intelligent and more thoughtful. Often much funnier, wittier.
So,
For example,
but your view of the future is grim. You think there's no hope.
Yeah, that would be my worldview, is absolutely no hope. We're totally screwed, not only in the newspaper business, but in every other way. The way I see it is, I think the way a lot of other people at least feel it, is that what you have are these galloping catastrophes that are unaddressed. Certainly not, if they're addressed at all, they're not addressed intelligently, and maybe the fundamentalists are right. Maybe these are the end times. We were just crazy. I'll give you an example. Just this week, my crime reporter is writing a story it's basically a custody hearing for a mental patient in Ukiah. Outside on the sidewalk, there's this grotesque group of fat guys, togged out in gang uniforms, kind of, they cut off shorts and football jerseys and stuff.
Tattoos.
And they're allegedly holding a rally for Jesus. And one of them has a bullhorn, and they're haranguing passersby in the passing traffic by yelling things, Jesus is the fucking dude. Go, Jesus, fucking A, Jesus. And they were so loud that it interrupted the court proceeding. They had to pause and go back and, revisit part of the testimony that was underway.
And what does this?
I mean, the point is,
The testimony being crazy
I think a lot of people, the reality has become so bizarre out there. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's nice. Look at the gangbangers are into Jesus. Well, that's a step forward."
There was also this point you were making about certain things have to be in print, certain kind of government stuff.
Yeah, we get government advertising.
Right.
That
But also people there have to be things legally have to be in print, in a newspaper, not online.
right. They have to be
Like
in
what?
print. Legal notices, name changes,
planning notices,
business
hearings.
announcements that you're going into business as. Those still must appear in print form.
So is that helping to preserve the relevance?
That helps. That
They're a
helps
nice
us
little revenue
enormously.
stream, yeah.
But the authorities often use that, and I was in a long legal battle because the authorities were deliberately steering legal advertising away from me, because they were, didn't like the way that we were covering them.
And then another sort of anachronistic thing that I'm seeing here is all this Marxist revolutionary posters and everything. You were telling me yesterday about the sheriff coming in here and wondering, do you really believe all this stuff? And what is the role of this sort of some people might consider old-fashioned ideological perspective in
I
here.
explained to the sheriff that this was an art collection.
Why? Why did you have to do that? And do you really believe that?
Because
or
he
do you
wasn't
think there's
getting it. He was
still
reading all this stuff literally. Oh, there's Lenin. You must be a Leninist. Or I don't know whether he was aware of Lenin or not. But, I mean, that's what he was reading the art
Go ahead.
as. No, you can just put that on hold.
It's okay if you want to take it briefly.
No, just let it ring through.
And no, so are you a Leninist though? You have to ask, looking at all this.
The
I think-
sheriff is a nice guy. He's
But I'm not the sheriff. Tell me what.
Please leave a message after the tone. Thank you.
This
Thank you.
person knew exactly what he wanted to say. Still,
There.
I thought it'd be perfect. Someone ring up and say, "You got a Marxist commie bastard."
Yeah, that was, they said that.
yeah, yeah. I think like a lot of people, at least in my generation, when I was young, I read Marx. I think once you've tasted the forbidden fruit, insofar as I was smart enough to even understand what I was reading, I thought that it was the only explanation of how the world worked that made any sense to me. And so, yeah, I was strongly influenced by it, and I don't hesitate to say that I'm a socialist now.
And what about
And
anarchism?
you know, you constantly have to explain, oh, you mean like a Russian communist? No, 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 no.
Well, they
And so how
call
is it
upon-
different for those of us who? I know it's a big.
Well, I
question.
always say, did you know that Idaho had 25 socialist governors in 1910? Which is a statement of historical fact.
Mayors.
I mean, socialism, yeah, mayors,
And the governor.
elected officials,
Right.
anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, we actually have a long tradition of socialism. A lot of FDR's cabinet members certainly were influenced by socialism, if they weren't socialists per se. And a lot of the programs that the few social amenities that we enjoy in this country were all derived from socialist
In the
ideas.
Communist Manifesto, if you actually
Medicare.
read what it says, is mostly a liberal agenda, is what it is. It's kind of a conventional liberal list of reforms.
And what about anarchism? I hear you're a self-described anarchist as well.
Well, I mean, those are the ideas that really get me up and moving. Yeah, I mean, they
How
appeal
so?
to me. They appeal to me more emotionally, certainly.
Can you describe?
No,
why
I mean,
that-
what happened to Leninism? I mean, you substituted one group of people riding around in big black limos for another. You know, one ruling class for another ruling class.
And how is anarchism an antidote to that?
Well, I think it's, to me anyway, I think it breaks that down. It constantly resists authority and centralization and all of the other things that we try to resist, whether we're just liberals or even Hillary probably would claim to have anarchistic leanings.
No, you're joking, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, the local food movement is a version of, in a way.
Yeah, I think the whole drift of
anarchism.
things. That's the most interesting thing happening in this county is the small farm movement. You know, eat where you live, buy the food that's grown in your area. Kind of see if you can break away from these huge distribution networks and fossil fuel dependent supply systems.
So you do see some glimmer of hope with despite your
Oh,
dark,
yeah,
bleak
yeah.
prognosis.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even bother getting up. I'd just stay drunk if I didn't have some hope, you know.
And besides local food, are there other movements that you look to for inspiration and hope?
Not offhand. I think the local food movement is a very healthy thing. I was excited about Occupy, and I still think it was just a brilliant slogan. And for a while there, for a week or two before the outpatients kind of took it over, I think it was great because it lingers. I think people in outback Iowa who are struggling got the idea that